Actually, I can take over. This phone will be okay right there.
You sure?
Yeah.
I can do it if you want.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dale.
If you're okay. So if you get up here on the microphone and it's too high, just do this. However you want to adjust it. I'm Bill Hudson, and I'm going to be the moderator for this evening's forum. I want to thank you all very much for coming and showing your interest in our community and in our elections. Some of the candidates are on the primary ballot that you may have already gotten in the mail. And some of the candidates are running unaffiliated, and you will be able to vote for them in November if you so choose. And wanted to extend my appreciation to Will and Christy Spears at K-Wolf. They helped organize this, and also express appreciation to Jim Smith at Jim Smith Realty for his support in helping organize this. And also the Tennyson Event Center for their generous use of the room. So I've run for office 4 times, so I can sympathize with what these folks are feeling on the stage. I've lost 3 times, and the only time I won was when I was unopposed. So I really appreciate the effort that goes into putting yourself out there in front of everyone and answering the hard questions. We're going to have each candidate give up to a 5-minute presentation of their positions and their concerns as they're running for office. We have Boyd Nagel, who's running for sheriff. Monica Medina, she is also running for sheriff. And Rachel Supp is running for commissioner. We did invite all of the other candidates. Some of them declined to participate. Rob Keating declined because he's in the hospital in Colorado Springs. And Wayne Bryant is in that phone right there. So I hope he is also running for sheriff. And he is homesick. So he's probably laying dead answering these questions. But that's where we all want to be someday. Okay, so let's start right here with Rachel and have her do her presentation for you.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Supp. I am running as the unaffiliated candidate for District 3 Commissioner here in Archuleta County. My campaign slogan is, "It's time to act." That is an acronym, so the A stands for accountability. I am going to be accountable. I can't always admit that I'm going to be right all the time. I did have a good friend who once said, "Rachel, you're right like 97% of the time, but the 3% you're wrong, you are really wrong." So I promise that I will tell you when I'm wrong and apologize. I will be accountable to you all as a county commissioner and making sure that everything is above board. I would really like some community engagement here. The most stated comment at the BoCC meetings, public comments, is that we need citizen advisory boards. Citizen advisory boards for STRs, citizen advisory boards for, construction, for growth, for development. We need it for the landfill. We need it for the sewage system. We need it for short-term rentals. So that is really where I stand. After 3 years of listening to the community, I can tell that they are not feeling heard. And I promise to hear you and to ask for your involvement as well. I will conduct myself ethically. So my background, my educational background is in constitutional law. I graduated from Carroll University in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and I graduated with a dual major, political science and religious studies, with an emphasis in pre-law. My expertise is in SCOTUS case analysis, so historical case analysis, and also legal definitions. So you may have seen me published a few times with Bill Hudson's The Daily Post. You can actually go search my name and see all of my publications there. I've also published a book on historical case analysis related to how the government has worked around the Constitution to enact medical tyranny. So that is how I first became known here in the community. Okay, that was a couple Januaries ago. And since then, people have been asking me to run for office, and I said, I don't know, man, that's kind of reaching for the bottom of the barrel. But after being asked multiple times, Wayne Bryant is the person who finally convinced me to run. And so I will conduct myself ethically under the Constitution for this community. And lastly, I will be transparent in my actions. I really care about that. I think a huge concern here has been kind of like the eyebrow wiggle, where like the commissioners suddenly know how everybody's gonna vote together at that Tuesday meeting. And I promise to be significantly more transparent about what I plan to do with work sessions and community advisory boards. So once again, my background is in constitutional law. So we have the political paradigm where it's personal, private, and government growth interests on one side, and anarchy on the other. I may fall closer to the anarchy side, and much closer to that than the personal, private, government interest side. But in the middle, we have all agreed to work under the Constitution. The Constitution does have limited powers granted to the government, and I promise you that I will be able to point to the law, how it works, and why the government can or cannot do what it is doing. And I have already done that actually in this community on several occasions, making sure that the government is working within its boundaries. And I promise that I will continue to do that if you elect me for office. So I am going through the petitioning process right now. Republicans went through their petition process and they're on to the primary ballot. But again, I'm not on the primary ballot. I will be going straight to the November 8th election. So in order to do that, I do need people to sign my petition in order to get on the ballot. Those petitions are right over here. If you're interested in signing for me to get onto the ballot, as long as you are a registered voter here in Archuleta County and have not signed Veronica's. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to answering these questions, being honest and transparent with you all, and continuing to do that.
Hey everyone, I'm Monica Medina. I don't know if any of you know me or anything. I wanted to clarify something. I'm actually not considered a candidate for sheriff just yet. I'm also doing much what Rachel's doing. I am petitioning to get on the ballot. So technically, I'm not considered a candidate just yet. I do need to get the signatures. I also have a petition with me if anyone's interested in signing. However, I have been in law enforcement for 18 years. I got my start in 2004, went through the police academy when it was still in Durango. It has now since moved to Memphis. Since then, I've worked for 3 different agencies, including Archuleta County, between the years of 2012 and 2019. Some of you might recognize me from there. It clearly didn't end well for me over there, and I really just want to make a change. A lot of changes need to happen at that place, and to make it very simple, I just want to bring back fair and impartial policing, fair and impartial policies, procedures. Everything has just gone downhill in the past few years, and it's progressively getting worse. If we stay on the same route of keeping the same people in office, it's just going to continue to deteriorate. I feel that I could make some changes by using my education, my background. I've done everything from bin inspections to homicide investigations, everything in between. I've been a corporal, I've been a sergeant, which doesn't mean much if you haven't been in law enforcement or in military. What that basically means is I have some supervisory experience, mid-level supervisor experience. I currently work as a detention officer, and it's a little bit backwards. Most people get their start in detention or in a jail and then work their way to patrol. I did it opposite. I went from patrol into investigations and then now as a detention officer. And I'm finding exactly how important it is to know everything, how everything operates in a jail in order to run a jail. And I was definitely enlightened to how jails work. And it was an eye-opener for me. I was the one that always dropped them off at jail and didn't have to deal with them. And now I understand the importance of keeping the inmates safe, the officers safe, and more importantly, the public safe. So 18 years, I hope to continue doing this. I am unique in the fact that I am not a politician. I know nothing about campaigning. I'm learning pretty quick. I'm getting some advice here and there, some not so good, some I will try. I'm willing to try anything. Much like her, I'm very transparent. I am incapable of lying. I am absolutely known in this community for being so blunt and so honest that it actually has earned me quite a reputation. So don't ask me something if you want my true opinion, because it will come out. I cannot hide it. Another thing is, I really just thank you all for coming here, showing up, showing support, whomever you decide on. We're all here for the same thing. We're all here to make change. And I believe that all of us together, we can make that change if we allow it to happen. I'm also willing to answer any questions as truthfully and honestly as possible. No matter how hard they are, I will do my best. And if I don't know something, I'm just going to tell you I don't know. I am very good at finding resources to educate myself and to learn. So I am definitely willing to learn from anybody who's willing to teach me as well. Thank you.
Standing still is kind of hard for me. I'm Bill Hudson. I'm running for sheriff. I've been in law enforcement almost 28 years. During that time, I started out in a little town where I was the only officer and had to run around the car for backup. From there, I worked in the jail, then I ran a jail. When I was back out on patrol, I teach at the academy. I've taught for the last 20-something years. On top of that, and I've worked for that one-man department, and I've worked for that 1,000-man department covering 1 million people. And that gave me a little bit of, how do I put it? A little bit of everything. I was told, we need to do this, so I found a way to do that. Budgeting, scheduling, policy and procedures, written manuals, grants, administered the grants, oversaw them. But the most important thing I learned out of all of that is no matter what size it is, wherever you're serving, it's the community. And that's something we're lacking as a department that is in the community, that is part of the community, that is doing things in the community. We don't have a Citizens Police Academy. We don't have the advisory boards we've all talked about. We don't have just the interaction. Why do we not have a child exchange at the sheriff's office where people can come safely do a child exchange? Or you sell something online. Well, don't give them your address. You don't know this person. Why do we not have an exchange up there? Why are we not meeting? I would love to take that little area in front of the sheriff's department that was supposed to be another building and turn that into a park. And we have these nice, beautiful spring, summer, fall weekends. Why are we not meeting there at least once a month, where you have access to me, all my deputies, everyone, and you can talk and you get to know them. That way, when something goes south, because most people only see us when things are bad. We only get to meet each other at the worst time. So why don't we meet at the best? So that when we show up, we don't hear, oh, damn, it's them. It's Boyd. It's Monica. It's whoever it is. And we're part of that community. We're shorthanded. We're very shorthanded. And we need to restructure the department. The entire department needs to be restructured. We need more people on patrol than we do sitting in that office. My plan is to restructure, divide the county into 3 districts, and have a deputy in each district 24 hours a day. Now, what does that do? That lets that deputy concentrate on their district. Right now, there's sometimes that there's only 1 deputy out. Now, if they have something happen in Chromo, and then something happens in Arbalese, and they're running from Chromo to Arbalese, that's an hour run. If it's wintertime, it's even longer. If it's summertime, it can be even longer, because how many people are on 160? You can't even get through. But they can concentrate. Can I take this off?
You want to hold it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry, I just standing up here and talking drives me up the wall. And I don't even know if I need this. But what I want to do is get the deputies back in the community. I still FTO, so I still train and I do things. So if you're driving around and see somebody out, the deputy's got time. It's not one deputy going from call to call. They're just taking care of their district. They see you out in your yard, they can stop. They can get out, they introduce themselves. They say, how are you? What's going on? They give you a card. Something goes on in the neighborhood now, you know who to contact. Or you feel comfortable because you've got that personal touch with them that every officer should have with their community. Well, I can't go too far. So we get that going. But on top of that, then they can also start working on a little investigation. We've got 2 investigators for this whole county. So every major crime, every burglary, everything that goes on ends up at those 2 investigators. Do you think they have time for every crime going on? We've got about 14,000 people in Archuleta County now. Divide the crime up. So it's whatever's hot, whatever's going on at that time. We might not ever get that burglary solved unless we get a lucky break. Not that, the guys aren't out there trying. So what do? They each have their district. They can hold on to some of those cases. We've also got opportunities for grants. I would love to see a child crimes investigator, and there's a grant out there for it, that is embedded in DHS. I don't need you at the sheriff's office. You can go to DHS and be embedded there. If you need something, let me know. You take care of our kids in this town. You're doing the ICAC, which is an Internet Crimes Against Children. You're doing the abuse. You're doing the sex assaults, things like that. And we're going to invest in them. So that takes some off the other 2 investigators. Now our kids have a dedicated investigator. Once that's done, our other 2 investigators can still investigate, and they don't have those things to go on.
So, Boyd, we're gonna let you do some more at the end.
And I apologize, I can go on, I can be silent.
Okay, so we have one more sheriff's candidate, and it's Wayne Bryant. He's attending by phone, and I'm hoping we'll be able to hear him. So, Wayne, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, you've got 5 minutes to introduce yourself.
Okay. I apologize for not being here. I want to thank Bill Hudson and David Post and Tennyson Building Event Center. I did not want to attend.
Ask him if he's on speaker.
But also,
Ask him if he's on speaker, because we cannot hear him. He needs to shut down the speaker and
I don't know what I got. Coming back.
Wayne, just a second. Are you talking, do you have your phone on speaker?
Yes, I do.
Why don't you talk right into the phone?
Okay, how's that?
Okay.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. Again, I apologize for being here. I got up for weather. to expose anything that I may have gotten over the last week with all the dust and the wind and all the things going on. But anyhow, my name is Wayne Bryant. I'm running for sheriff as an unaffiliated candidate. I've prayed about this a lot as to what to do. And over all the years that I have lived here, and I have seen the fraud and corruption occurring in our sheriff's department and our BoCC and other agencies in the county, I just no longer could sit back and just allow this to happen. We have one more chance, I believe, at this to be able to take our county back, and that's what I intend to do. When I get into that office, I'm going to clean house, and I'm going to expose the fraud, I'm going to expose the corruption, and we are going to do an audit, and we are going to find out exactly where all the money is, if there's any money left. I understand that chasing vehicles are bought at $100,000 or $100,000 each. When we have vehicles sitting in the fence, I do not understand how this can continue to go on. The sheriff's department is virtually bankrupt, and we have to straighten that out, and it's going to take a lot of work from everybody. One of the things I'm going to do is once I get in, I'm going to have Sheriff Matt come in for a week, and we are going to train not only deputies, but police officers and the citizens of Archuleta County to be constitutional, to understand what our responsibilities are to the Constitution, to protect your freedoms and our freedoms. This is very important. We have not tried it. Our job is to protect and serve, and we have not done that. I'm not going to have any more unmarked vehicles. We are going to have protect and serve on our vehicles. We are going to retrain, and we are going to work with the community. And the more I get involved in this, the more confident I'm feeling that this can be done. We are going to deputize after these trainings. We are going to deputize every man, woman, and over the age of 18 to become deputies and to form a posse. Because what we are going to do is going to be unprecedented. We have to understand that what we are living under is a tyrannical government right now. This tyrannical government is basically a corporation. The BoCC is an extension of that legislature, which is a corporation. We have to disenfranchise from that and start keeping our money here in this county and putting it back to good use. We are going to form our own banks. We are going to re-look at all the infrastructure that's going on, and we are going to reassess the tax valuations of properties. What is currently happening right now is with our money is that the property values are increasing. That money is going to the state, and we have to change that. And I have a plan to change that, so that way that money stays here, and it no longer forces people on fixed incomes to have to leave their homes or to move further out, because it's just not fair. And I have a hard time with that. My parents were forced out of their home because of property taxes that they lived in for years. So that's all going to change. I hope that I left a few flyers there when I went to the doctor this afternoon. I hope you can take a chance to read those. But I'm very concerned that our county is going in a very wrong direction, and it will continue to unless we actually get there and change it. And it's not going to be one man that does it. It's going to be all of us that are going to have to stand up and start doing something about it. So like I said, I've prayed about this a lot, and I am the only probably, I'm not afraid to say that I believe in God, and I'm a constitutional Christian, and that I believe in our founding fathers, that this government was ordained by God, and so as far as I'm concerned, that's the bottom line. When you look at all the unconstitutional statutes that are in this county right now, and in this state, I do not enforce any of those. We have to go back to simplicity, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We have forgotten those things. Everybody has the right to be free, and right now we're living under terrorism. Look what they did to Mr. Manzanares. That nationalization was issued through a lot of eyes. And what did they do to these two officers? They give them a paid vacation with administrative leave. They turn around and exonerate them and remove themselves to say that they was their right. So now they resign and they can go someplace else and do it. This is not fair. They should have been fired on the spot for doing that. How dare these officers treat people like this? We work for you. That's the bottom line. We represent you, and we are there to uphold and protect your constitutional rights. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you.
All right, so we're all excited. So I would like to pose some questions to the candidates and invite them, if they wish to answer the question, to go ahead and step up. And Wayne won't be able to step up, but to step up and answer those questions that they feel like they want to respond to. We do have three sheriff candidates and one commissioner candidate, but these questions are a little more general, could apply to either of those offices. So I'll give each candidate 2 minutes to respond, and if they need a rebuttal to something, I don't think that's going to happen because it's a pretty friendly group. We'll have 1 minute rebuttals if they want to ask for that. So the first question is, America is in the midst of what some people are calling the Great Resignation. And according to the county administration, Archuleta County government currently has 20 job openings that they are trying to fill. That's not unusual. There's job openings at most every government and every business in this town. What is your understanding of the problem? And if you're elected, what is your strategy for addressing the problem at your office? So, if you want to start with that.
I'm gonna take it off again. So, we've got a department. I'll speak for where I'm running for, the sheriff's department.
Louder, please.
Okay, how's this? Better? Okay, so I'll speak for the sheriff's department. When you've got a department that lacks leadership, lacks any mentoring to build people up, we've just lost 2 deputies in the last week and a half. We've lost long-term employees are finally leaving. 2 from EOC, don't know why they left. It's just, we're losing people. We're not doing anything to keep them here. Our pay is low, and we've seen with companies, pay doesn't matter if people are happy and feel like they're making a difference, to a degree. I mean, we've got to feed our kids, we've got to pay our houses and things like that. But if you're happy, you'll be there. So we need to come in and start mentoring people. We need to bring the right people in. We need to do backgrounds. They need to be vetted. You know, just having a pulse is not good enough. Okay? We need people that are moral and good and want to do this job. I can teach a good person how to be a good cop. I can't teach a bad cop how to be a good person. So, we try to bring up the pay, but we start teaching, we start building, we start giving them the mentorship and make them understand that they are part of this community and they're a big part of making this community better. They have families here. They raise their families here. They don't want to leave. I want to build them up and train them to the point, and I've actually talked to the academy. When I win, the academy is willing to come over here and satellite with us. So there's no more special deputies. If you're not post-certified and know what you're doing, you're not going to carry a badge and a gun for Archuleta County and drive a marked vehicle. So we're going to train them. Once they're trained, they're going to have a career here. They're going to know they've got a career here. If they're doing what's right and what's good, and we're putting all this into them, they know they have a future here.
Okay.
I can speak from personal experience to tell you that the sheriff's office, I know people refer to it as a department, it's actually an office, it's a sheriff's office. What it lacks is consistency. There is no consistency. The policies are antiquated and are formed to, I guess, change for how they need it. So the first thing I would like to do is go through the policies, make sure that they're relevant, that they're current, and make sure that they're fair across the board, no matter what. The other part is with consistency comes the training. Being just post-certified isn't enough. Being post-certified, you get from an academy, you can go attend academy. Anyone can attend academy and pass a background check. But actually going and getting through a field training program. I'm also a field training officer. That tends to be a 3-month-long training. It's kind of insane when you think about it. You give a 21-year-old a gun and a badge, and in 3 months, they're supposed to protect the whole community. With that, it needs to be consistent training. It needs to be continual training. It's not enough that you just have to do your mandatory 40 hours a year. There should be constant training, should be in-house training, and there's plenty of resources out there. Many don't even know that all of the money I've obtained for the sheriff's office to get free training, all the marijuana that gets sold legally, that gets sold in the state of Colorado, have to pay taxes. All those taxes go towards law enforcement and schools. All of that money goes towards getting free training that doesn't come out of tax dollars to go and specialize all the training for each individual deputy. I also think it's very important to know each and every individual deputy, because you're setting them up for failure if you're making them do something they're not comfortable with. I do realize you're going to have some really uncomfortable situations in law enforcement. That's a given. But if you don't specialize where they're really exceeding the limits there, you're just gonna set them up for failure. That's gonna continuously happen. That's what's continuing to happen. And if they continue down that road, it's only gonna get worse. Is that too much? No, I sound like
Okay, Wayne, did you hear the question?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, wanted you to address the problem of finding employees and retaining employees in the current market.
Oh, okay. My approach is going to be a lot different. I believe that this situation occurs in every home. Every home has to take responsibility. And that's where it begins. It always begins with the family. And one of the things that we have forgotten is we always rely too much responsibility on a few people, and actually this is a community issue. One of the things I'm going to do is I want to train every individual in Archuleta County that's over the age of 18. And how I'm going to do that is at the courthouse is that big courtroom that sits in the back that's not being utilized. We are going to convert that to an indoor archery and gunnery range, and we are going to have every year, we are going to have, first of all, we're going to have a 6-week course, and we are going to have families come down, learn firearm safety. We are going to teach shooting skills, and we are going to go ahead and that 6-week course, and that way there people will be able to have self-defense in their homes. And what we will do is every year after that, every week, we will have a training course that will go on again, so that way people will get the certification. And this will help the deputies and the police officers in town, because now they can look at the community and take a lot of the burden off, so when they're finally called, and we are going to have to hire new deputies and raise the rates, there's no doubt about that, but if we can work from in-house, we can solve a lot of problems for just being a neighborhood and doing it as a family. Neighborhood watches will increase. We're going to have yard posters that are going to put out the yards of the people, families that have been trained, and this is going to cut down a lot on public invasion, and I think that's the way we should look at it. We should look at it from the home, and if we can get everybody trained and everybody put into like a posse or a deputy, so to speak, then at that point there we can cut down a lot, and the few deputies that we do have, because we can't kid ourselves. To be able to hire new people and bring new people in with the current cloud that's hanging over us is going to be really difficult to do.
Okay, Wayne, thank you.
Okay.
So I have 11 years in human resource experience, and I'm currently getting my senior professional in human resources designation. This is a two-pronged issue here. The first one being that we literally cannot find housing for qualified workers here in town. I had a friend who's a firefighter down in Arizona. He contacted me 9 months ago. He said, hey Rachel, let me know if you find a house or a room, or can I park a camper somewhere? Like, is there anything that I can do here? 9 months ago. He did not find that place, and he got another job down in Arizona. This is happening. We have Tent City and Aspen Springs. People who are working here do not have homes. So we have to find homes for our workers. We have to show appreciation. We have to show them that they belong. The second issue with the Great Resignation that is happening all over the world, and large corporations are enacting diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. So sometimes people are excluded from their jobs or pushed out because they have issues that need to be addressed, or they find problems within a department, and that needs to stop. So we need to be aware of the diversity that is coming into this community. We need to treat people equitably, no matter where they come from or what family they belong to. And we need to include them. They need to be included in the process for making that department better. So I have heard from several people who have worked for the county that this has been an issue. So it's a two-pronged issue where we need to find housing and pay them appropriately to live in the community, as well as include them in the department and moving forward together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those answers. Figuring out how to work this timer.
You're doing great.
So in 2018, the Board of County Commissioners asked the voters for the second time to approve a sales tax increase to fund facilities for the sheriff's office and for the jail and for the courts. And when the voters rejected the tax increase again, the BoCC went ahead and borrowed millions of dollars through certificates of participation to build a 24-bed jail and later a new courthouse. 54. Did I say 54? Oh, 54. 54-bed jail. Please give us your perspective on a county government creating debt without voter approval. And let's start with Rachel.
Great question.
I don't need 2 minutes for this. The answer is no. It is unconstitutional. It is illegal. There is no way I will ever vote to do that. I am not putting us in perpetual debt. I am not making my children slaves. I am not making your children or grandchildren slaves. We are not going to go 150 million into debt so that 13,000 people move away from this county. That is not happening with me. Thank you.
I've often wondered where that money goes, because I can tell you, if you think that any cop wants to work the street for the money, it's not there. We don't do it for the money. We do it to make a difference in the community. That's the bottom line. So I've managed to balance my checkbook and stay out of debt for all my adult life. I don't see how I would mismanage funds that don't even belong to me. Only do what is necessary to get only what's necessary for our department, our agency. When I worked there, we were constantly told there was no money for certain things. Many of the deputies buy their own weapons, their own boots, their own belts. Some have even at some point have had to put gas into their own patrol vehicles because the card didn't work, and never got reimbursed. You don't hear about that kind of stuff though. Did they go and report it? No. They just went on with their life because that's what they had to do. They had to get by. So I would also like to know where that money goes, and I would like to be open and transparent where how that money is spent on only necessary items. Thank you.
You all right, Wayne? So, how do you justify what they did? You know, if I wanted to ask you for a 0.5% tax because I wanted to do the jail or to do equipment or something like that, I would like to think you would approve it because you had faith and trust in the department that I'm not going to come up and talk to y'all and ask y'all for something that I don't need. If I'm going to ask you for it, I'm going to look you in the eye and say, I have tightened the budget as much as I can. I have done everything I can to get it done another way, and as much as I disliked it, I've got to ask for money. And if I come to BoCC and ask for money, I'm going to be able to justify it and look you in the eye when I do it. We went so over budget on a jail, it's ridiculous. And get this, we didn't just go over budget on the jail. We bought the Harmon House so that we could make it into a sheriff's department. What we do? We paid market for the house, budgeted for a remodel. We went $302,000 over on a remodel. Now you don't go $302,000 over budget on a remodel by accident. I can't be that inept, and if I am, you need to throw me out. We just didn't do that. After they go $302,000 over on that, they turn around and come back this year to the commissioners at the budget hearing and ask for $75,000 more to put stucco and new windows on a house that they just redid the inside on and went $300,000 over. Then they asked for a fence to go around it for another $30,000. So we're $402,000 over budget on a house that's not big enough to supply the needs of that department, that office, and we still got the investigators at another building. We're selling the courthouse is going. That's a whole nother situation to talk about.
Okay, thank you.
So Wayne, we want to see if you want to address the amount of debt that the county creates and whether voters should approve it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very upset the fact that the voters said no to the courthouse and to the jail, and instead we opted for expending $48 million on a new jail and courthouse, and now we're going to be having to put county workers someplace else in the next few years. They'll probably extend the loan because we did sell a few people in the county sold that whole courthouse that we could have revamped for just a few $1 million and saved the county lots of money. And the county residents never had a chance to vote on that sale. That was ridiculous. And so see, this is the problem, is we've got a few people that are spending our money that aren't being held accountable. And so what my idea is to go ahead and audit every department in the county and then bring it back before the constituents. This is the debt that we have. What's your pleasure? How do we deal with this? Because at some point that debt becomes due and we're going to be responsible. These people that did this to us are going to be gone and they're not going to be held accountable, and they will be held accountable under my administration. How dare they spend our money so crazy like that when we only have 10,000 people in this county, and we're going to be looking at, by the time the new county buildings are done to move these people, we're going to be looking at $70 million. Plus we need a new reservoir system, we need a new sewage system, our roads are deplorable. Where's all this money going to come from? So my feeling is that we've got to stop to it right now. We find out how far we are in debt, because there's an undisclosed debt that nobody's talking about. And then we have to, it's going to come back to us to decide what to do. And if we have to raise the tax to cover this over a long period, unfortunately that might be something we may all have to buy. Because what's the alternative? That we default? And that would be even worse. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for those answers. Several years ago, our county public works director estimated the backlog in road maintenance at $45 million. That was the backlog, not including the current cost of maintenance, ongoing maintenance. Considering that the cost of construction projects seems to have doubled in the past 5 years, how should the county address this crisis in our roads? And what effect would a serious program, a roads program, cause to the budgets of the other county offices? So that's kind of looking at it from how would it be addressed and how would it affect you in your office?
All right, commissioners, get up there.
I'm not
That's a commissioner's situation, that is not a sheriff's office.
This is the first time this has been addressed, Bill. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention, $45 million in backlogs. I was unaware of this situation. I don't really have a rightful answer for you here tonight, but I'll write about it here within the next week or two after I do some research. Wow, that's a huge number actually. And Bill is right. Bill is right. The cost of asphalt has actually increased more than 50%. So I'm a trustee on the board of Chimney Rock Interpretive Association. They had budgeted $330,000 with the Forest Service to pave just the quarter mile from the entrance on 151 to the Visitors Center. And that was last year when they got the bid, and this year was over $800,000. So yeah, so this is a huge concern. I would say $45 million is a crisis that needs to be addressed. Mary, did you have a question?
In this format, is it okay to make a suggestion?
No.
Okay, thank you.
We'll talk.
But you can talk afterwards. You can talk afterwards.
That's a commissioner's kind of thing, that is not a sheriff's thing. Sorry, that is not something the
But
sheriff.
I would like to say,
I still like to hear the opinions of everybody else,
my
though.
opinion is, they took money for the jail to make up from other departments,
Yep.
okay? I think this is a commissioner issue, 100%, but I think it's my position, running for sheriff and being the sheriff, is I need to do what's right for all of this county, and I need to do my budget, and I need to stick to it, and not overrun, not go $400,000 over on a remodel, not go over on a jail, not do those things. When I tell you something, I need to do my research so that when I go to the commissioners and ask for something, I know exactly what I'm talking about and not go over. We work together on this. It's not my department.
Did you feel like you wanted to say anything?
I have no say on how roads are fixed. Can I read that?
Yeah, just a second. Wayne, did you want to make a comment on roads?
Yeah, just a quick one. Well, one of the things about roads is the problem that we have right now is that we have not kept up with the infrastructure as growth has occurred in our county. And one of the things that I'm very concerned about is that as the growth is continuing to increase, the growth is not paying for itself. We need to have the growth start paying for itself, to start paying for the infrastructure that is occurring. And that's just not roads. That's water lines, that's sewer lines, that's schools. All the things that aren't being passed to the people that are coming in. And I'm a big believer that growth has to pay for itself, and maybe in that small way we can start addressing the roads, the schools, the sewer systems, the water lines. So I think growth should start paying for a lot of the impact that they're creating on our small county.
Okay. Oh, you want to think about it? That's right. I'm sorry.
I actually agree with you, Boyd. I'm not really rebutting. I think that that's a great idea that you stay within your budget. If we stay within our budget, we can get the expertise that we need, like landscape architects or civil engineers that can actually figure out the crisis to this, or the solution to this crisis. I worked at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They had exponential growth while I was there, and that was what they did to keep their roads up and maintained, is they hired landscape architects and civil engineers to actually form a 10-year plan to make sure that this happened. So I agree with you.
I'm just looking for the ones that are going to be most applicable to everyone. So the voters of Colorado and 54% of the voters in Archuleta County approved a constitutional amendment legalizing recreational marijuana in 2012. And we now have several successful dispensaries in our county. We have numerous private individuals who cultivate marijuana for personal use or as caretakers, growing for medical patients. Last November, the Sheriff's Office came forward to the BoCC with recommendations that would make private growing more difficult in our community. And some people felt that those recommendations from the Sheriff's Office were unconstitutional, because this isn't just a law, this is a constitutional right to grow marijuana in Colorado. So I would like to hear your ideas on how you look at the marijuana issue and what your solutions would be for any problems that you see.
In 2012 is when I started at the Archuleta County Sheriff's Office, and that's right when that bill went through. And I'll tell you, the state put the cart before the horse with that. There was no way to regulate it. There was no way to make it punishable until several years later when they decided to now try to enforce rules. And some people were grandfathered in, some people were not. I have mixed feelings on this. I believe that if you choose to smoke recreational marijuana, that's definitely your choice. What I did have a problem with, and what I did see continuously, and it was just seemed to not stop, was people thought they had the right to grow it wherever they wanted, not follow any of the rules or regulations, and have access, children would have access to it, small children. And I think we can all agree, just because you like to smoke weed doesn't mean your 3-year-old or your 5-year-old should have access to it. So that was my problem with it. I still think that it continues to be a problem. It's a little bit less now that we have a little bit more control and more rules in place for that. The problem is, and it will continue to be, there's just not enough people to enforce it. There's no specialized task force to go enforce this. The state has everybody registered, but there's no one here locally that regulates that to make sure that they're within their limit. So it's just going to continue to be a problem. I think that the only way to combat it is to all be in agreement with it. The Sheriff's Office has to give way at some point, and the state has to cooperate at some point. So there needs to be a task force that enforces it. There needs to be a task force that regulates it in this community so that there is no more access, just free access willy-nilly. That's my personal opinion on it. I think that's, did that answer most of it? Okay.
He's always last. Wayne, go ahead and address the question of how you would deal with marijuana in the county.
Okay. First of all, I'm a big proponent of private property rights. People have the right to do on their property what they wish to do on their property, as long as it doesn't affect other people on the property. One of the big things that I support is that with medical marijuana, this isn't for the state or the county to regulate. This is between the doctor and the patient. Now, we have a lot of PTSD veterans in this community that rely heavily on it. And so the doctor will allow or prescribe what the actual patient needs to be able to take, because it takes so many plants to make so much product for medication. And sometimes that's quite a few. Now, I'm all for that. But what I am against is that when people come in from other states and they grow, and then they take that product out and we don't get no benefit, we get a loss because they're using our own water. And water is becoming a very big issue lately, and that's another thing we can talk about later. But, I'm sorry. But I do not believe that the government should be involved in regulating that. It's between the doctor and the patient.
So I had the opportunity to specialize in marijuana for a while. From when 64 came out, the Constitution says that you can grow your plants and you can do these things. I totally agree with it. I think I need to be a good enough officer that if someone's doing something illegal, we pick up on it. If they're out there growing multiple plants, it's easy enough to find out. If they're growing their 12 plants in their greenhouse or whatever, we're never going to know about it if they're not out there selling it. It always comes out. I don't believe in more law, more things. If we enforced and worked in the boundaries that we already have, we have everything we need for it. And you know if someone's selling marijuana. You know if somebody is doing more than they're supposed to do. So we don't need regulations that say, I'm going to come into your greenhouse and look and make sure you're growing tomatoes and not this or whatever. We just need to be better officers and go by the rules we already have. I don't need a new land use code. I don't need this. The state, with the Constitution, set the rules. They say treat it like alcohol. Now, if you're brewing alcohol in your house, are we going to come in and make sure you're brewing a certain amount? No. So let's go by what's already there. We don't need more. We don't need to go into it.
I'm just going to reference the Constitution here. Constitution, Article 18, Section 14 is what defines a medical marijuana patient and their caregivers. Section 16 defines what recreational use is. They are completely separate and different. A medical patient actually has patient rights, a confidentiality from enforcement officers. That is why we do not have enforcement here at the county level. We cannot add anything for enforcement without amending the Constitution, because it's a constitutional amendment that gives people these rights, right? So when the General Assembly decided that they were going to allow counties and municipalities and towns the ability to regulate further than the Constitution, they were breaking the law.
Yep.
That is a fact. So, for example, the amendment to the Constitution would be something along the lines of a county, town, municipality has the opportunity to regulate marijuana growth in a time, place, and manner situation. But they didn't do that. They actually passed it through a general statute, and it does not meet the requirements of the law. So here we are, we have enforcement. There is actually a criminal marijuana use statute that makes it illegal for medical marijuana patients to grow outside of their patient-doctor relationship, or to sell, or to grow it in an area that it is not locked or away from children. So all of these actually have been addressed through the Constitution and through additional statutes, some of which may be unlawful. And it is up to us to make sure that we continue to protect patient rights, because they are different than recreational users. They are patients with actual medical conditions, and they have been approved for up to 99 plants to grow, and they can do that. And in the Constitution, as Wayne said, this is a patient-doctor relationship. This has nothing to do with enforcement, and they are confident from being retaliated against from law enforcement.
All righty, we're going to do one more question. And the candidates will be available as long as they can stay for you to speak with them. We're going to let them also do a closing comment, but I wanted to ask one more question as the moderator. Colorado Revised Statute 24-6, also known as the Colorado Sunshine Law, states, quote, "It is declared to be a matter of statewide concern and policy of this state that the formation of public policy is public business and may not be conducted in secret." So I'd like to hear how you interpret that law, and if you believe that there's situations where that doesn't apply.
Excellent question.
All right, y'all, I love this law. I've actually, just between you and I, made a girl cry in college because I argued this law so well on behalf of the government. The government has 10 exceptions to government and sunshine law. Sunshine's my middle name, so I kind of like this law. So in the county, right, if we have two commissioners speaking with each other, that's a quorum, and they can't actually speak on public business. If an organization or like private organization, like the Republican or Democrat Party, actually is representing powers that have been delegated to them by the General Assembly for their meetings, they are also required to be open meetings. So like precinct caucus creation or elections, candidate meetings, those are all required to be open to the public. I feel that the more open to the public we are, the better we're going to be as a community. So in my opinion, nothing should be done in secret when it comes to the government. I'm asking to spend your money. I'm asking to use your taxes, and quite frankly, I shouldn't be doing that behind closed doors. I shouldn't be making closed door deals. I shouldn't be doing anything without you all knowing.
Well, I'll try to follow that, but mine's kind of twofold. I understand the need for secrets, and I understand that confidentiality is very important. That's when it exists to protect a victim in a crime. And so there's a lot of secrets that come with law enforcement for that reason. So if you're going to ask to spend money and you're going to ask for people to pay money for something that you want or your office needs, then I think being very, very detailed, open, and itemized about everything that you want and need should be public, and it should be transparent. And I think it's just that. But just touching on the secret stuff, cops are known for being secretive only because they have to protect that confidentiality. So sometimes it looks like there's even more secrets than there really is, but it's simply to protect confidentiality of victims and the crimes of those victims, as well as the suspects until they're proven guilty. So other than that, if I want to take somebody's money and I want to use that money for something I need, I'm going to be very open and honest about what I need it for and itemize that.
Well, I think it's in the name of the law, sunshine. If you got to do it in the dark, you shouldn't be doing it. Like I said, and you look me in the eye when I tell you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. If I've got to go around behind your back to do it, I'm not going to do it, and it shouldn't be done. And if somebody does it, they need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Okay?
So Wayne, do you want to address the Sunshine Law quickly?
I didn't hear all of the questions.
The question was, there's a Sunshine Law that governs the governments in Colorado, and how do you support that, and how do you feel that there are exceptions from open transparency?
I believe in open and transparent government. The one thing I don't believe in is that if that opency and transparency will affect a family or an individual in an adverse way. People are still and I will support the Fourth Amendment. And I am a firm advocate of that. And as long as it is the information that's being disclosed does not cause any harm to any individual, I believe transparency should be an open policy in any department.
So Wayne, go ahead and take up to 3 minutes and do a closing statement, okay?
Okay. When I prayed to run for this office, I knew exactly what I was going to be undertaking. There was a lot of corruption in this county. There was a lot of fraud going on in this county, and it's not just the sheriff's department; it's all departments, and including the judicial system. And that's where it starts, is with the judges. And I've gone to so many courtrooms and seen nothing but a revenue stream. And it saddens me that people's rights are being affected, and people's rights are being thrown out the door for revenue. We are not going to tolerate that. We are going to go back to a county that is going to be fair and honest to all its citizens, and that's the bottom line. We can no longer stand for this totalitarian government to be doing what it's doing to us. Every day we're losing our rights, we're losing our freedoms, and we are being submitted to do that under fear. Jared Lewis was a classic example of that. Or not even over a citation to take this man down on the ice and injure him with no retribution to those officers other than they go someplace else. This is going to stop. We are going to take out this cancer, and as painful as it's going to be, we are going to start all over again and make this a great county again that people can be proud of. And people are going to be secure in their homes again, and people are going to be secure in their schools again. This is going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. But that's what I promise you. I take an oath to protect and serve your constitutional rights, and I will honor that oath, and I will defend that oath to the death. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Go ahead.
I will make my short and sweet. With 18 years of experience, I bring a lot of knowledge with me. I'm willing to share that knowledge, and I also feel it's my duty to teach the next generation of law enforcement. I think the current staff there, maybe not all, but definitely a good handful, are misguided and are very good people and are very good officers. If they can continue to feed that and get the specialized training and continue on that path, it would be a great place. So we need somebody that's going to be in that place to make sure that that happens, to ensure that it's not going to cost any more money to the tax dollars, to use all those scholarships that are out there, to go use all those grants that are out there, and there's plenty. I've gotten several of them. I've even gotten as a drug dog. I've gotten, along with the handler and all the training, for $13,500. It never came out of the pocket of any tax dollar or any tax-paying citizen. So where is that drug dog right now? How come he's just a family pet at this point? Because he doesn't get used. He's not allowed to be used because that handler now has to go train other officers and can't use that car to transport that dog in. So now that dog has become a family pet rather than going to use what its purpose is, the narcotics, the tracking. And a lot of people think it's an attack dog. It is not an attack dog. It is the most sweet dog you'll ever meet in your life. And it's very good at its job. But the training is not continuing with it. So I would like to get that back on track and to get the drug enforcement back on track, because I'm sorry, this current sheriff's office has not been honest with you on the drug epidemic in this area. And anyone that walks into Walmart or City Market can see it yourself. You can see all the zombies walking around. You can see it everywhere you walk. This is not the town that I grew up in. This is not the town that I graduated high school from. I want to get it back to being a safe place for all of our children to be raised, to continue to raise their children for every generation. All the visitors that come here, it's pretty sad and it's pathetic how many get burglarized, how many cars get broken into. There's a thief problem here that they're just not being honest with you about. So in order to combat that, how are we going to do that if we can't get the staff? We can't get the staff because no one wants to follow a leader who doesn't know where he's going. So that's
chin on his voice.
It's 'cause he wants to talk about it.
Someone once said, let's see what government is going to be like in 30 years. That's the policies that we need to be enacting now. So that's what I think. That's what I think of when I'm looking at government action. I'm thinking about the consequences of that 30 years down the road. I'm not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not thinking about lining my pockets. I'm not thinking about basically anything other than, man, I really want my children to be free, you know? I'm a bit of a rebel myself, so I feel like we should all be free. And the way that we are going to be able to do that is by having commissioners that work underneath the Constitution, that are not looking to hand out deals, that are not looking for, you know, going over budget, $402,000, you know, or a $250,000 fence. You know, we need to be aware of where our money is going and how it's being spent. We need to stop retaliating against individuals in the community that we feel don't belong. So no bounties. You know, you might get a steak dinner out of me, but it's not I'm a really good cook. So yeah, that's just the bottom line. I really care about the Constitution. I care about this community. I care about the future of this community, and I want to make sure that we get on the right track. Thank you.
I gotta say, we got a good group.
Absolutely.
You know, we all want the same thing. And out of all the years I've done this, I have never seen a county run the way this is. You know, I even forgot to talk about the $250,000 walkway out of COVID funds. That would have went a long way towards families. But no, we need to look at this as we're guardians. We're guardians of our community. We're part of it. We need to be back in the community, doing all these things, having their trust. Like I said, I want to pull up and people go, Boyd is here, cool, good. I don't want them to fear us. You know, good stewards with our budgets, good stewards with our kids. I mean, why are we not teaching classes in the high school? Getting our kids hooked. It's hard to move here. We talked about the housing. So why are we not in the high school getting our kids interested? Why are we not fighting the drug problem that's here? We don't have the people half the time. Well, people will not follow you if you do not lead. You have to lead them. And how do you ask people to follow you if you've never been down that trail yourself? Out of my 28 years, I have done animal control. I've done dispatch. I've ran a jail. I've taught at the academy. I've done investigations. I'm still an FTO. I'm an investigator. So when someone wants to do something or needs to do something, the expertise is there to show them how to do it. Don't ask somebody to do something you can't do. And plus you need to know it, because when it's being done, you need to know it's done right. So get the right people at the department, train the way they need to be, and let's get back in the community. Because the sheriff's department is never going to be successful if it's not part of the community doesn't believe in it. If I could have been there when they were talking about this jail and a vote to fund it one way, I would like to believe that it would have been approved because the faith in your sheriff's department was there. That we wouldn't just ask you for something. You would have the faith, and that's what we got to restore, is our community and our faith.
So I would really like to thank all of you for being our audience and listening to our candidates this evening. And especially would like to thank all the candidates for being willing to think on your feet and answer some questions that you had not heard of in advance.
And actually show up.
And actually show up. Yeah. So, please feel free, if the candidates can stay and you want to chat with them and touch base and learn more about them, I invite you to stay if the candidates can stay. And if anyone would like to help by holding up chairs, we're going to put chairs away as well. So thanks all for coming.
Will you be able to do this again?
We will certainly do it again as it gets closer to November.
That would be awesome. Thank you.